Hello. I'll do it in English and then make a copy in Russian. This is my weekly 5 minutes note about what's in the Torah 3,300 years ago. It's still relevant today, specifically. So that's for the 27th of September, 2024. And we're learning the Torah, and it's 5 minutes. How is this Torah relevant today? What makes this relevant today? Is it archaic? Because that's like so. The parsha of the week is parsha Nitzavim. Nitzavim, you are standing. Moses, in 5 books of Moses, the fifth book of Moses, Moses addressing people that are ready to cross from Jericho to Canaan, they will become Israel. And how is it relevant today? Are we in the land of Canaan? Are we in the land of Israel? Are we in the land of Palestinians? What is going on here? So I'm going to jump in the end. I always pick this one point. In the end, it says here, see, I have placed before you today the life and the good, and the death and the evil, that which I command you today, to love God, to love Hashem, your God, to walk in his ways, to observe his commandments, his decrees, his ordinances. And he continues saying it, and he ends the paragraph by, to love Hashem, your God, to listen to his voice and to cleave to him, for he is your life and the length of days, to dwell upon the land that Hashem swore to your forefathers, to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, to give them. So now Torah talks about the land. And today, there's a conflict in the Middle East. We talk about the land. Whose land it is? Jewish land, Arab land, Palestinian lands, whose land? So he specifically said, I'm going to give you to you, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. But Abraham is also the father, not only of us, but commonly known as the Arabs. But let's understand a little bit. When you listen to conversations like the Jews and Arabs, Palestinians debate something, if they can't debate it in the civil, which is that doesn't happen very often. When they do, typically we Jews would say, listen, we were here 3,300 years ago. And Palestinians, and usually Palestinians will say, well, we were even before that. So normally Jews would agree that Palestinians from the times of Muhammad, which is the 7th century, 7th of Common Era, which is 1,300 years ago. So we will say, well, we were here 3,300s, US 1,300 years ago. So we were here before you. But then becomes the issue, well, okay, 3,300, 1,300 years. In this case, it's a lot back. But many times intellectual Arabs would say, well, we're here before you. Well, now that's interesting point. If they claim, Palestinians claim that we're here before us, let's say they say 4,000 years ago we're here. Well, 4,000 years ago will be roughly maybe 300 or 400 years before we came to the land. Well, who was in this land before we came? There were the 7 nations. I have one of the videos in the Perplexed recording. I talk specifically about the history. Now, without the maps, I'll just explain it in more simple way. We and Saudi Arabians, Arabs, we are Bedouins. Abraham was a Bedouin, one of the many Bedouin tribes. If you take Saudi Arabia Peninsula, mostly, that's where most are of the world, not count Egypt, Syria, Lebanon, but classic Saudi Arabia, those tribes living there many years ago, one of these tribes was tribes of Terah, who had children, Abraham, Nahor, and Tahor. One of the kids, Abraham, left. Now, Torah describes why he left. He had revelation with God, whatnot. But he left and he went to the land of Canaan. And he settled there. In the land of Canaan, there were some people like Indians in America before white men came to America, and then brought also blacks from Africa. And then the Indians, native populations, kind of didn't like it very much. Don't like it even today. So at that time, if you take that view that they were here before we came there, that means they belong to the natives of the land. These natives were not Bedouins like us or the Saudi Arabia Arabs. Those were the sons of Ham. We and Arabs are descendants of Shem. Semites, anti-Semites, Semites. Noah had three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. From Japheth comes Europeans, from Shem, Jews and Arabs, and from Ham, Africa mostly. So Ham had a son, Canaan, and he had six children, of which some settled in the land where today Israel is, including Gaza, including Ashdod, including Jerusalem, including Tel Aviv, whatever today it is. That was a land of seven nations, descendants of Ham, descendants of Canaan. Some of the sons, two of the sons of Canaan, went to Capricene, which is Crete. And then they came over by boats and invaded their brethren Avim in Canaan. That was happening before Abraham. Before even Abraham came to Canaan, they invaded, and they're called in Hebrew Plishtim, with Liv Stot, the Hebrew name, which means invaders. The Plishtim, Palestinians, Palestinians are invaders, the name of the word. They invaded and settled. When Joshua crossed over 3,300 years ago, or something like that, from Jordan, from the east side of Jordan, where today is state of Jordan, when he crossed over, he was supposed to fight the seven nations. The God gave this land to him, but never mind the Bible, never mind the Torah, never mind the religion, just historically, as Arabs, as Palestinians would claim, they were here before. So they would say they lived there. They're descendants of Canaan, son of Ham. They're ethnically not Bedouins. Saudi Arabians will not marry their daughters to Palestinian boys or their boys to Palestinian girls because they feel they're ethnically not exactly the same. They share the same religion now because Muhammad, which is part of Bedouins, Saudi Arabian Bedouins, came to the state, to current Israel. At that time, Israel was, the second temple was already 7 centuries destroyed. Mohammedans, Arabs, came to this area, and basically Islam took over the huge area, which includes today Saudi Arabia and Northern Africa, Egypt, Libya, and Syria and Lebanon. That's even Turkey over, and even Iran now. None the Semitic world, because Iranians are not Semites. They're not descendants of, they're not genetically like us. So we and Arabs, Jews and Arabs, are basically Bedouins. Well, Abraham, one of the tribes, evolved to a little bit different religion, but every time he had to marry his kids, he will say he make a phone call to the family, to Laban, in Aramean. They were ethnically the same tribe. They have a lot of connection. Mishpacha, family connections are very strong. So the Palestinians today, educated professors would say they were here before us, way before us, and they over time agree they merged and mixed with Greeks and Romans and Jews and all that. So today's nation is a product of 4,000 years of assimilation and what we have now. If you look on the Palestinians and you look on Saudi Arabians, the facial features different because it's different genetic code. They live here. They're Muslims, but they're not Arabs. They're not Bedouins. We call them today Arabs. People call them Arabs because most of the world doesn't know that simple history. It's very simple, even without religion. So the Saudi Arabia today, native Bedouins essentially evolved, became more modern, and the king of Saudi Arabia is there ethnically also Bedouin. The king of Jordan on the east side of Jordan, the state of Jordan. There used to be Transjordan and Palestine. They all was one area. Jordan River in between. To the east of it is today Jordan. To the west is today Israel. But it used to be just one big area. And that area was occupied now by the Palestinians that mixed, raised, and observed all genetic codes, but not Bedouins per se. So that area eventually was supposed to be divided. Okay, if we can't get along, if we want to live by the Quran, by the Muslim law, we'll take a portion of the land, and we Jews want to live by the Torah, we'll take another portion of the land. So we will take what today is Israel, and you will take Jordan. But Jordan is governed by the King Hussein, who is a Bedouin tribe, the Hashemite tribes. He in charge of the area that ethnically are not his blood. they're Palestinian, as I just mentioned. So it's very difficult for Hashemite king to accept more Palestinians because as it is, there is a friction that he is a monarch of the different genetic code Bedouins. In charge, he is a minority, maybe 20% of the nation, of the populations are his people, Bedouins, and the 70, 80% of Palestinians. To absorb more Palestinians will make the kingdom kind of shaky, unstable, and because of that, King Hussein is not very much interested. Neither Egyptians, neither Lebanese, nor Syrians. Now, Syria, Lebanon, and Egypt are also no longer Bedouins like Saudi Arabia. I'm not sure about Yemen, but Saudi Arabia for sure. So Syrian also mixed, and so did Lebanese, and so did Egyptian. The Egyptians are not the same Egyptians in the time of Moses. They're not Egyptians, they're not Bedouin Arabs. They're basically a mixture of original Egyptians, which were Hamites, descendants of Ham, not descendants of Shem. But over time, Arabs came over and they mixed around. Today, Egyptians are basically a nation of modern Egyptians. Genetic code is very mixed. But us Jews, now we did assimilated to some degree over thousands of years with Europeans, with Iraqis, with Northern Africans, but not a lot because most of the Jews stayed separate, the nation apart, the Torah says. So we didn't have this, a lot of genetic code mixtures, and the facial feature of us reflect basically geographic positions. If you're a Swedish Jew or you're Iraqi Jew, you look different because the different sun, different air, different atmosphere, a lot of that. There was some mixing, but not a lot. So that is the story of, when you think in simple terms, what, now, of course, Romans will call this Palestine because when Romans invaded Israel and they destroyed the temple, when Jews resisted, Romans, after exile, had to rub it in. And we'll call this land Palestine because you Jews don't like that this land is by the name of one of the 7 nations that used to persecute it many, many years ago. They used to have problem with. Now you are exiled from this land, and I'm going to call it Palestine just to rub it in. So you will not only be physically hurt, but also spiritually, your soul will be hurt. That's a little story. And tomorrow, when we get together with our Perplex Club, we'll discuss it. I think I ran over a little bit more than 5 minutes today, but Shabbat Shalom. Hope you enjoy this short, maybe more than 5 minutes today, maybe 10, but hopefully you enjoy it. Any questions, just let me know. But this is a good Shabbat topic to discuss. Sit down around the table and say, how much do I really know about history? Not even from the Torah, just history from archaeology. Just talk to the Palestinians. They will tell you they were here before us, before dinosaurs were Palestinians. And if that's the case, then today's Palestinians are not ethnically like us or Saudi Arabians. And maybe they will explain why we have a little trouble in the family, but we and Emirates, United Emirates, and Bahrain and Saudi Arabia are working on the Abraham's Accord, because after all, we all know we are family. We have some bickering, but we're all Bedouins, including Jews. We're Bedouins. But Palestinians are not. And when you have a different genetic code, tribal mentality matters a lot in the Middle East. That's where the problem comes in. So that's not, the issue is not about the land. The issue is about who you are, who you are. So Jews, the Bedouins, proposed division of the land. Fine. If you've been here for 4,000 years, fine. We also were here for a long time. Maybe not for 4,000, but 3,300. It's still a lot of times. Let's split. You want to live by your rules? There's plenty of land. Take Jordan. And it's all already your Palestinians, mostly anyway. And we'll take what today Israel, the Judea, Samaria, Israel, Gaza. Okay, we'll be here. And then, of course, Palestinians say, no, with Jordan, never mind Jordan, that's already out. We now talk about the rest of it, just Israel. We'll separate that. And of course, the extreme views will be, no, we don't want to separate any. We'll just take it all because you guys don't belong there. Well, that conversation is obviously intellectually incorrect. That's not history. So must be the will among people. We are willing, we Bedouins, Jews, we're willing to sit down with another nations, with the Palestinians, and let's sit around the table with a cup of coffee and decide. You guys want to live by your law? Okay, let's pick the land, let's do it, and we do ours. And that's been proposed for many years. So that's the topic for your Shabbat discussion. So Shabbat Shalom, enjoy Shabbat, and have a wonderful, hopefully the peace will come to the Middle East, to all, to Jews, to Arabs, to Palestinians, to the world, to America, to Russia, to Ukraine. Hopefully the peace will come. But it will come if people understand really what happened. What are we fighting for, really? So, something to think about.